Hey guys, I'm Sylvie from High Level Bandanas and welcome to another tutorial video. Before I get started on anything, I just want to note that I'm trying something new today. I am trying to record with my DSLR camera and it's from like 2012 or something like that, so it doesn't have the autofocus or anything. I don't have anything fancy on it, so if anything is out of focus, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure out how this works, and hopefully eventually once I do figure it out, it'll bring better quality videos for you. And then on a second side note, this is the spicy Christmas set I thought was nice and festive for today. Really one of my favorite things that I've made, super comfortable, made to measure for literally everybody, like all of my patterns, because everybody deserves to be included and everybody deserves to have cute crochet items. And it is a set, so it does come with a pattern to make a little thong and a little garter thingy for your thigh. So today we are making my ugly Christmas sweater thing. At this point I don't really have a name for it, but I just wanted to, after a few requests, a lot of you wanted to see how to merge crochet and sewing together, or how to not be intimidated with sewing. So I figured this would be such a good and easy idea. Every single pattern that I use for this will not be mine unless I tell you. I just wanted to make this easy for everybody and find patterns that you can just find for free online, which I will link every single one of them in the description. So that's for all the appliques. Each yarn that I'm gonna use is just random stash busting at this point. I'm gonna try to keep it mostly to just like acrylics, because I don't think I have cottons for every single color, and I don't really want to do two different types of yarn. So let's just get right into it. First things first, to do this, because this is a really good idea if you have a shirt that you don't really wear anymore and that you just kind of want to revamp. You could do this with a sweater, you could do this with a shirt, you could literally do this with any item of clothing that you want. I didn't have anything to just randomly grab out of my closet, so I did go to Winners and I grabbed this shirt for $12, which you won't see in focus. I should also note that you will need a sewing machine for this, unless you want to do a whole bunch of hand stitching, which I don't quite recommend. Mine is just the Singer Heavy Duty. I love it, I'm obsessed with it, but I don't think you're gonna need anything fancy for this. I don't know if this is focusing. So I am going to be starting off with, ooh, I made this not good. I'm gonna be starting off with a candy cane. This is the Christmas candy cane applique free crochet pattern by Rafa Musa. Everything will be linked in the description. And I'm going to be using worsted or medium weight yarn the entire way with a 5mm hook. And it doesn't really matter what you use, you can go along with the pattern. I just think it's going to look nicer for me if I use the same kind of yarn hook and stuff like that. But I think it could also look really cool if you're using super chunky yarn, or if you want to like mix and match, and then it'll be kind of more of an eclectic ugly sweater, if that makes any sense. So I think it's important to note that typically when I make tutorials and stuff, I do use my own patterns, but for Christmas stuff, especially appliques, I feel like there's just so many things out there. Christmas is such a popular season, it's kind of been done. Like there's no point in me trying to create a candy cane applique if there's already like 100 out there that are perfectly good, and that way I can give credit to another artist. There's also so many things you could do if you want to do like a Hanukkah sweater. There is not just Christmas for the holiday season. But there you go, this one's already done. It took me maybe like a minute to make. Super duper easy. I'm just going to be embroidering little lines on it so that it looks a little bit more candy cane like. That I do want to address right now is crochet ends. Weave them in. If you have a big enough piece, you can kind of leave them behind if you want to. I do suggest weaving them in a little bit, but it doesn't matter how precise you make it, because once we sew these on, you won't see the ends. And there you go. Alright, so the next one that I'm gonna make is the Christmas Tree applique by Desert Blossom Crafts. I just really like this one because it seems to have quite a lot of texture with the bobble stitch. If you just look up Christmas Tree applique on Google or on Pinterest, you'll find a ton of free patterns. Some of them are a little bit more joyful, more colorful. Some of them have the picot stitch on the side, which I really love. So go ahead and find what fits your vibe the best, but I will go with this one. And here you go. Ooh, this lighting is just not it. Here's my little Christmas tree. I don't know if the pattern actually had the tree stump in there, but I just added 3 rows of single crochet, and there you go. pretty satisfied with this one. The thing I'm gonna make is a snowflake by Crochet For You blog. Here you can see I've just finished my snowflake, and this is kind of what it looks like. I think this shirt is a little bit cropped. What you doing? Oh, long girl. Anyway, this shirt is definitely a little bit cropped, so these three are definitely going to be my main things. I feel like I want a little bit more color than just the white and green. If you have a bigger sweater, obviously you can keep going. Some ideas would be like a bell or something. Oh, a snowman. Oh, I can't believe I didn't think about that earlier, but I think that it would be too much on this shirt for me right now. Just so many things you could do, like a little present maybe. As you've seen, I think that I already have a ton of space taken up on this shirt. So what I'm gonna do is just add little like yellow stars, maybe 3 of them, and call it enough appliques. I'm just editing this and it's like, why do I always do finger guns? And the pattern I'll be using for that is Tiny Stars by Hooked by Robin. Alright, I lied to you. So I did try that pattern and it gave me this, which I think is too big and too clunky. So that's not gonna be for me and I'm gonna throw it in the garbage. I just kind of created my own little star pattern. 5 single crochets in my second chain from hook, or you can go 5 single crochet in magic ring, and then I just single crocheted it into the first stitch, chain 3, slip stitch in the second chain from hook, and then did that all the way around. So essentially I just did picot stitch all the way around, which gave me this little star. And there you go, here's my little stars. So once you're done getting all the appliques that you want, I recommend laying out your shirt like this. I swear this is not focusing. I swear filming on an iPhone is easier, but I do recommend laying your shirt out like this and picking out where you want your things to go. And then I'm going to pin them in place, but if you want to make it maybe a little bit easier, I do recommend just taking a photo of your placement, and then that way it'll be a little bit easier to sew without things being all pinned all over the place. Okie dokie, it's time to sew. So the first thing that you're gonna do, if you can, is remove this, just because we're gonna be sewing a shirt. So what this does is we're gonna be able to put the other part of the shirt down here. It'll make more sense when I show you, I guess. I am starting out with my white thread because I've got 2 things on there that are white. As for settings, I'm gonna put it on a whoop-de-doo. Oh, is this focused? What was going on with me? So for settings, we're gonna go on a length number 3. At least that's what's gonna work for me. And that is because the yarn is quite thick. The other thing that I'm gonna do is make sure that I'm on zigzag, and I'm gonna make it just like a number 2 zigzag. That's just because my shirt is extremely stretchy, and with that I don't want it to like pop the stitch every time I put it on. I do want the stitch to be able to stretch when I wear my shirt. And for tension, I'm just gonna leave it at a 3 here, which you can't see because I don't know how to use this camera. Also, this is what I meant. So because we're only sewing onto the top part of the shirt and we want to avoid sewing onto the back, having this just makes sure that like the back part of the shirt can be under here so that you really don't catch it. It's going to come into play a little bit more for the things on the top of the shirt, but for the bottom it'll be a little bit easier to move around. Moving around will kind of be the hard part here because we do need to go and stitch around the entire edge. But guys, this is just like regular sewing. Just make sure that your needle, you might need to adjust your tension depending on what type of yarn you're using and stuff, but just make sure that you're really going on the edge. For this snowflake here, for example, it's going to be a little bit tougher because I've just got chains here, but I'm going to be sewing through the chains, and it's just like regular sewing. I should probably start by actually threading my machine, hey? Also, if you don't know how to use your machine, this is probably not the correct tutorial for you, and just note that your settings will also be different depending on your machine. So just make sure that the fabric underneath is laying flat the way you need it to. Get your needle through, and you're just gonna start sewing around the edge. So I should also turn my machine on. Wow, I'm a mess today. That was so smart. If you're not used to doing this, don't go fast. Definitely take it a little bit slower. So with this snowflake, it's pretty hard because there's so many little turns and stuff. So with the snowflake, here you can see I've got a harsh corner coming up. What I'm gonna do is lift my foot, turn it, and put my foot back down. And then that way I can keep going here in a straighter line. And then I got to a corner again, so I'm gonna lift it, turn it, and put it back down. Now with the snowflake, something that you could do is also just leave these little tiny bits here so that it's a little bit more 3D, and it'll also make it a lot easier for you to sew. I think that is what I'm gonna do, and essentially what that means is I'm going to be sewing kind of more of a circle around this part, and then that'll make it just a million times easier for me. Another thing that you can do if you really want to is sew another ring around the middle so that it's not loose. Have it under here just to make sure that I'm not sewing onto anything else as I'm constantly rotating this. Makes it so helpful. And there you go. And the back side looks like this. It's just like sewing on a patch. You may notice, or you may not because it's not in focus, there you go. You may notice my back side looks a little wonky. This is because this is at the start where I thought I was gonna just do the peaks, and then I ended up just doing a circle around. This is not the cleanest, I'm not the best at sewing, but it is easy to do for something like this. Time to sew on the candy cane. So this one's a little bit deeper in the shirt, so I'm gonna make sure to really move it along here. And this is the same thing that we did last time. Let's do it. Here's an issue that I'm encountering. So you can kind of see that like the side of the crochet here is getting caught. So what I'm gonna do is just lift the foot, push this back down, and put the foot down, and then that way now the side isn't coming up through the middle of my foot. It's still just where I need it to be. And now I'm gonna keep sewing. Here's what this one looks like. So again, if you have a really stretchy fabric like mine, make sure that you're not stretching the fabric as you are sewing on. I know that's hard, especially with a candy cane where like you constantly have to turn the shirt around. Can kind of create these like teeny little creases that you see here at the top where I clearly had difficulty turning. It doesn't matter too much. I know that this is gonna stretch a little bit when I wear it, so just also be mindful of that. But I like it. Now that I'm looking at the snowflake and how the ends are kind of like curling, I think I might go back in and add a few stitches to just like make sure that they do stay up. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to switch to my yellow thread, and then I'm gonna switch to my green thread, sew these on because it's gonna be the same exact process, and come back to you when I'm done. Here it is. I'm super happy with the way this is turning out right now. It's just super cute, super campy. For the stars, because they're the smallest, they were probably the easiest to sew on. But with that said, just sewed a straight line, had my needle in, lifted my foot, and then turned so that I could keep going in straight lines instead of doing one constant star shape without lifting my foot, because that would have been extremely difficult to turn once I got to these angles. I may have accidentally gone a little off on the side of the Christmas tree, but it's DIY, it's not supposed to be super perfect. Because I'm someone that thinks that more is more, I kind of want to add like a little scallop neckline to this, and I'm thinking I might also do the same with the sleeves, but we'll see. I'm going to choose green for this, and I do want to go and make a little neckline. So what I'm gonna do is chain, and I'm just eyeballing it. You could totally measure, which is probably better. I'm gonna chain until I have the exact same length to go around the neckline of my shirt. You make it longer, a little bit longer, that's good, because with sewing we can overlap it and it won't show. The goal of this neckline is to be putting it inside the neck, and then that way we won't really be able to see the edge of the crochet, if that makes any sense. So I've pinned it all the way around my collar, and as you can see, it fits, and I've got just a little bit extra. So the reason why it's also important to have extra neckline is gonna wanna stretch when you put it over your head, and we still wanna keep that. And with the zigzag stitch, that's totally fine. That will work perfectly. I'm gonna half double crochet all the way across. Make sure you pick a yarn that you know is not going to be itchy, because we're putting this on the neckline. This is going to rub against your neck all day. I personally think a cotton or an acrylic is the way to go with this. If you're using any kind of wool, or if you're using something that's got like tinsel to be festive or something incorporated in it, just know that you might be giving yourself a rash. I'm planning on doing just a scallop stitch. Feel free to do whatever you want. I think there's a few really good patterns. After Wednesday went viral, I know there's a few patterns that came out. Some of them are free for collars, so some that actually come down that are kind of a lace. You could do a picot stitch, which I'm a huge fan of. Possibilities are really endless. I'm done with my half double crochet all the way across. I just wanted to mention this is the part that is going to get sewn on. So I just wanted something nice and like kind of thicker so that we could make sure that we have a nice zigzag stitch through it. It's also a stretchy stitch, so we can still have stretch. The next thing I'm gonna do now is just chain 2. I'm gonna skip a stitch, and then in that second stitch I'm gonna place 5 double crochets, and then once I'm done I will skip 1 stitch and slip stitch, which gives us a scallop. After the slip stitch, I'm just gonna go ahead, skip 1 stitch and place my 5 double crochet. Kind of feels like it takes forever, even though it's very fast, and I'm thinking that it looks like a little dinosaur tail right now. Okay, so once you're done that, it's going to be time to pin it into place. We know that we want the right side to be facing outwards. So for me, this is the right side, and I want it to be facing out. I want it to look like this, so I'm gonna pin it like that all the way around. You can see mine does have quite a bit of overlap, but that's fine because we're gonna be just sewing in a continuous circle. I've got the rest of the collar under this part right here of my machine, and so I should have really pinned it on the other side, but I am going to pin with the shirt facing up, or sew with the shirt facing up, because I want to know exactly how much of this is sticking out, and I'm gonna be sewing pretty close to the edge. All my settings are still the same, essentially making sure that this top line of my shirt stays on the line of where the double crochets ended. So this is what that looks like. I think it is super cute. I kind of messed up this little overlappy part here, but that is fine. You can't even tell that there's an overlap from the back like this, so that looks pretty good. I'm gonna repeat with the wrists off camera because it's the exact same process, and I will come back after that. Well, here you go. This is it. I'm super happy with how it turned out. I honestly love the scallop detailing on the sleeves. It looks super cute. I love how this turned out as well. And honestly, like, I'm really happy I went with this little bobble tree. I thought that there wasn't enough detail on it, but this is kind of perfect for just like your campy like Christmas party thing. I also opted to not put any trim along the bottom here. Just felt that having something like this will kind of prevent me from having the option to tuck the shirt in. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments if there's anything else that you would like to see or any other tutorial that you would like me to make. Make sure to follow at High Level Bandanas on Instagram and on TikTok, which honestly is kind of the same content because I'm horrible at TikTok right now. But on that note, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!